Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to do my review of King of the Ring 1997. Starting off the evening, we'll go to our first match of the night. It is Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Ahmed Johnson in a King of the Ring semifinal match. Number one, I thought it was an okay match for King of the Ring 97. Back and forth matchup between Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed hits a press slam on Triple H. Hunter then is keeping the pace of the match after that, though. Chyna then causes a distraction. Hunter then capitalizes on the distraction, hits a pedigree on Ahmed Johnson, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Hats off to Hunter Hearst Helmsley for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is another King of the Ring semifinal match. It is Jerry the King Lawler versus Mankind. Again, I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Lawler and Mankind, with Mankind keeping the pace of the match. Lawler hits a pile driver on Mankind on the outside. Mankind then gets up, applies a mandible claw on Jerry the King Lawler. And your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Mankind. Hats off to Mankind for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is Goldust versus Crush. I thought it was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between Goldust and Crush, with Goldust keeping the pace of the match. Goldust ultimately hits a DDT on Crush, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Goldust. Hats off to Goldust for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is the Hart Foundation versus the Road Warriors and Psycho Sid. I thought this was a relatively good matchup. Back and forth matchup between the Hart Foundation, the Road Warriors, and Psycho Sid. Animal hits a devastating power slam on Owen Hart. Hart Foundation, though, was keeping the pace of the match. Sid hits a choke slam on the British Bulldog. Owen then hits a roll-up on Psycho Sid, pins him for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Hart Foundation. Hats off to the Hart Foundation for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the King of the Ring final. It is Mankind versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Mankind and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, with Hunter keeping the pace of the match. Hunter and Mankind both exchange in the middle of the ring. Mankind then hits an elbow drop off the apron onto Hunter Hearst Helmsley on the outside. Mankind then hits a double arm DDT on Hunter Hearst Helmsley for a near fall. Mankind then applies a mandible claw. Chyna then attacks Mankind. Hunter then hits a pedigree on Mankind through the announce table that looked absolutely brutal. Chyna then hits Mankind with the scepter, but Hunter hits a pedigree on Mankind, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and the King of the Ring of 1997 is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Hats off to Hunter Hearst Helmsley for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Michaels and Austin, with Michaels keeping the pace of the match. Austin hits a Luthez press on Shawn Michaels. Austin then hits a stunner on the referee. Shawn then hits a super kick on Austin. He also hits a super kick on the referee as well. A new referee comes into the match. He ends up stopping the match, and this match ends up ending in a double disqualification. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of King of the Ring 1997. It is The Undertaker versus Farouk for the WWE Championship. I thought it was an okay matchup. Back and forth matchup between Taker and Farouk, with Taker keeping the pace of the match. Farouk hits a power slam on Taker. Taker, though, hits a tombstone on Farouk, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and at that time, still WWE Champion, is The Undertaker. A couple of things I'm going to say about King of the Ring 97, man, before I get out of here. Number one, it was a very lackluster King of the Ring. It was getting to a point where the King of the Rings were starting to, kind of die off. And how they booked this King of the Ring was just awful, man. I mean, they had 2 semifinal matchups. You had Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Ahmed Johnson. And you had Jerry the King Lawler versus Mankind. And again, I've stated this multiple times in the past, man. For some reason, in the early to mid-90s, it seemed like Vince McMahon wanted to constantly book Jerry the King Lawler in these storylines where his career was well past his prime, man. I don't know why they kept booking Jerry the King Lawler. Personally, I feel like he's a better announcer or commentator than he is a pro wrestler, in my honest opinion. But they constantly keep booking Jerry the King Lawler in a lot of these storylines in these matches, and I feel like Jerry the King Lawler had no business being in this King of the Ring, in my honest opinion. Goldust and Crush was a decent match at best. Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was a really good match, but I wish we got a clean finish and not a double disqualification. The Hart Foundation versus Road Warriors and Psycho Sid was a relatively good matchup. I was kind of hoping the Road Warriors and Psycho Sid would get the win in that match because Psycho Sid seemed to be extremely over at the King of the Ring 1997. And the main event, Undertaker versus Farouk. I'm not taking anything away from Ron Simmons. I think Ron Simmons is severely underrated. He was a part of one of my favorite tag teams, known as Doom, when he was teaming up with Butch Reed. I thought that was a fantastic tag team, severely underrated. But as far as his singles career goes, man, it was very lackluster. Ron Simmons was better off being in a tag team. I mean, he had a phenomenal career teaming up with Bradshaw, you know, the APA, the Acolytes. He had a fantastic career teaming up with Bradshaw. He also had a great career teaming up with Butch Reed in Doom. His singles run was very lackluster, and I feel like creatively they didn't really know what to do with Ron Simmons or Farouk or whatever you guys want to call him. They just didn't, they weren't really pushing Farouk. Now, the Nation of Domination, too, is another stable I believe that is severely underrated. I mean, you had The Rock, Farouk, you had Kama, you had D'Lo Brown. You had a lot of notable names on that stable, and I feel like Nation of Domination doesn't get a whole lot of credit where credit's due. I thought it was a great stable. I really did. And Farouk kind of being the leader of that group, it really gave Rock, you know, the opportunity in the spotlight that, you know, he got in the beginning to become what we all know as him now as The Rock, you know. So you had to give kudos to Farouk on that by, you know, kind of putting him into the fold with the Nation of Domination and really getting The Rock's career started. And the sky's the limit for The Rock's career from that point on. So you got to give credit where credit's due, and Farouk kind of, you know, added The Rock to his stable as the Nation of Domination. But the King of the Ring 1997, man, to me it was very lackluster. If I had to give King of the Ring 1997 a rating from 1 out of 10, man, I'm going to give King of the Ring 1997 probably a solid 4 at best, man. It was very lackluster. I didn't really understand the King of the Ring matches, like the matchups itself, especially Jerry the King Lawler versus Mankind. I don't see why Jerry the King Lawler was even in the tournament, to be honest with you. So I'm going to have to give King of the Ring 1997 a solid 4 at best. But this is my review of King of the Ring 1997. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classy.